Priyasha Corey, and I am a co-founder and partner at Connected Law. We're a new age law firm, and what we do is we connect clients with senior lawyers and boutique firms with the relevant expertise. So I'm going to keep my introduction really short because I know that 1 hour can pass by really quickly. So I want to make sure that we cover all the key questions during the course of today's session, and we also are able to engage with you. So I'm really excited to be presenting today's panel of distinguished speakers. They're all experts in their field, so we're going to have a very insightful discussion. We have Deepak Bhawnani from Alea Consulting, Zaid Maniar from Crow U.A.E, Mariana from Bismosis, and Ahmad from Al Nagar and Partners. So maybe what we could do is we could do a quick round of introduction from all the panelists, because I'm really bad at introductions, and I'm sure we'd love to hear better from the panelists themselves. So maybe we could start with Mariana. Ladies first.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Priyasha, and thank you, gentlemen, for accepting me to go first. Pleasure to be attending today's discussion. My name is Mariana Bulbuck. I am the CEO and managing partner of Bismosis Group. Today I represent Bismosis Business Services, a part of our group, which is a government affairs agency. We specialize in tailored business solutions through the relationship that we have developed in over a decade with the U.A.E authorities at federal and local levels in each emirate. I personally am passionate about business and business to government relations since a young age, and have worked in a few European and the Middle Eastern government or business to government relations diplomatic environments. And Bismosis is actually that platform that connects the businesses to the U.A.E authorities, and not only worldwide through diplomatic missions to other markets, where we can assist with either special approvals, exemptions, modification of requirements, permits, licensing, and any other business and corporate services required for the clients that approach us at any level, from startups to multinationals.
Thanks, Mariana. Thanks a lot. And maybe we can move on to Deepak.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Deepak Bhawnani. I'm the CEO of Alea Consulting, which I founded 17 years ago in India. I've been in this industry for 33 years, doing white-collar crime investigations, international frauds, pre-transactional integrity due diligence, and a whole host of asset discovery and other litigation support services with law firms, both domestically and internationally. I will be chipping in to the panel about certain KYC and AML work that we've been doing for the last 15-20 years in India for about 50 countries around the world, including the GCC countries. So I look forward to chatting with you more. Thanks.
Thanks, Deepak. Zaid, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. Lovely to have you all here. I'm a partner at Crow, and Crow is a leading firm, global top 10 of auditors and business advisors. And we have in the U.A.E 20 partners and directors and 200 colleagues. So look forward to working with you all and sharing some insight, and more importantly, gaining some insight. Thank you.
Thanks, Zaid. Ahmad, over to you.
Yes, good morning, everybody. This is Ahmad Al Nagar. I'm the managing partner of Al Nagar and Partners. We are a very small, maybe smaller than everybody in the room, law firm. We have an office in Cairo, an office in Abu Dhabi, and another one in Dubai, specialized in legal consultancy, general. And here in the U.A.E, I've been practicing more than 12 years. I've seen a lot of changes in the laws and a lot of changes in the style of life as well in the U.A.E that make business go differently. And that's our strength, that we advise our clients how to do business here and how to live as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ahmad, and thank you everyone for the lovely introduction. So I think now we're ready to jump into the meat of the discussion. Now, before we really delve into the details, I thought it would just be useful to start with the basics. And so maybe I have a question for Deepak in terms of, maybe if you could tell us a little bit about what really is KYC, AML, and why is it not just for banks and financial institutions? Because traditionally, I've always associated AML, KYC with banks. Of course, lawyers were regulated. We also do have to conduct KYC, but the breadth of KYC seems to have been increasing over the last few years.
That's true. Thanks, Priyasha. So, yeah, and you're right. There's a lot of jargon. There's a lot of terms. It all starts with the FATF and the FIU, which is the Financial Action Task Force, and the financial intelligence units which each country have. There's some global organizations that have put together, let's say, certain requirements that, because each country has its own laws, they have to respect that. So there's a sort of open-ended information given about what they need to know about anti-money laundering and the KYC side of the research and the checks that need to be done. So there's no hard and fast checklist that's available anywhere in the world. I've looked at that for quite a while, and there is nothing there. So it is open to adapting to what your country systems are and what information is available. So let me start with the simplest kind of thing. So the concept, of course, is because of the cross-border and global trading and business relationships, governments have come together to fight primarily on what they call the counter-terrorism payments and checking for that. They've requested that, as you rightly pointed out, with all the banks and the financial institutions saying, you need to do KYC and AML checks on everyone you do business with around the world, so that we want to know whether there's any issues of concern. So it actually started, and we were looking at this almost a decade ago, was doing studies of correspondent banks for financial institutions, because at that time it was any funds touching America, they need to have a KYC check on it. So the correspondent bank checks were being done at that time. That, of course, then increased to the bigger corporations and the deals. And you're right. And as time has passed more and more, there is a requirement being extended to companies to say, to normal professional companies also saying, anything that you see as a suspicious transaction, you need to report it. And I know I'll leave that to you to talk about a bit more about the Go-AML side of things and the suspicious transaction reporting system. But coming back to what is the levels of the requirements, and I'll chat about them a bit later also. But you start with the basic, what's called an AML check, which people normally default to saying, I'll do a Google search, and others will combine that with doing a world check kind of system, and say, okay, we're done. Then the next level up is what they call a KYC, and this is again, there is a difference about saying the compliance side and everything. And I know some of our co-panelists here have amazing experience about dealing with international compliance requirements for having the information. But then the next step, of course, is to check that independently. And that's where the KYC bit comes in, is based on the identifiers provided. How far do you want to go? So a KYC check will also include doing sanctions checks, regulatory checks, bankruptcy checks, and things like that. So there's a next level up. And we've, of course, called it the Amana process, which is the, integrity and the background checks. And on top of that, you've got an enhanced Amana check, which is checking the company or the people associated with the main subject to make sure that they don't have any connections. They're not a proxy. They're not a front person, and sort of giving information that could then be of concern to you. Now, there are more and more levels, but we can talk about those separately. We'll stick to these today. But what I do want to say is that it's important to at least have some structure in place, because the reason for doing it is twofold. One is compliance, because you do need to respect the laws of your country and meet those requirements. And the second, of course, is that if you don't do it, there are two issues that happen. One, you get involved in a sort of listing somewhere in the media that your organization was not compliant and therefore has a negative impact on the reputation. And the last part of it, of course, is you could get fined by the regulator. And those fines could be so phenomenal that it just isn't worth not spending that money on doing the AML and KYC checks.
No, makes sense.
So I'd leave it at that and pass it on to my esteemed colleagues to discuss.
Yeah, so I think on this note, Zaid, maybe you could tell us a little bit about why KYC AML should not be limited to just banks. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit there in terms of your perspectives from an accounting and auditing firm.
Sure, thank you for that, Priyasha. To understand that, what we really need to understand is why is all this happening? So as we know that, the global population is increasing, people are living longer, more children are being born, which is wonderful. But all these people need medical attention, education, support services, roads to drive on, and this money has to come from somewhere. Now, largely this money comes from government revenues, and in most countries, government revenues are taxation. So the OECD back in Paris in 1989 had decided that countries need to work together to avoid tax evasion. Now, tax evasion, money laundering, these all go in hand to hand. Earlier, the definition of money laundering, which we saw in movies, was illicit gains of smuggling and other kinds of contraband trading. That is not the only definition. I hope that answered your question, Priyasha.
No, I think that's very clear. Just as you mentioned, we're the gatekeepers to the U.A.E. or to any country for that matter. So it's important that we make sure that the money that's coming in is clean money.